Why don't you stand up? Stand up, right? No, you we're going to have a little family photograph while we're waiting. When do we start? Right, so we go.
So I'm waiting.
We've got one of the climate champions and others who wish to be.
Very nice.
Okay.
Have you got some film?
Film, yeah. In my black room.
Okay.
All right, and 1, 2, 3.
Hola.
Let me take a couple. All right.
I will reinforce that.
Is that good? All right, well done. And what, a couple of euros or something?
It cost you a lot more than that.
Will you just have the certificate?
Oh, no, we're fine. Look, she's been doing this for years, right? You just got that camera, come on.
The last time I was there, there was a lot of landslides on the second one.
I know, you said lovely, but then I saw the lens. So, what time do you start, ladies and gentlemen?
The water just comes off so fast.
Shall we go? Right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to this closing plenary of the TEMs M. I think that means Technical Experts Meeting Mitigation. So it's a new acronym to me, but I'm sure hopefully you've got all very familiar with that over the last few days. since the opening plenary on Monday, I think it was. So thank you for being here. We've got some great speakers lined up, and we've got some of the kind of outcomes from your discussions, from your debates. We're going to listen to various people speak, and then we will open the floor to you, the delegates, with your interventions as you so wish. My name is Nick Nuttall. I'm the Director of Communications of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and I'm your moderator. So what we're going to do first is we're going to ask the moderators of the sessions that you attended during the week to give us some very short, brief 3-minute slots on their sessions and how they went, and we'll have a few pretty slides up on the screen to make it even more exciting. What we'd like to do first, perhaps, is ask the first moderator who's going to present to do that. That's William. Thank you, William. You're doing city-level collaboration to achieve emission reductions and sustainable development, and another one, which is support for accelerated actions, so I understand. And of course, William is one of our managers here at the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and I'm sure he's no stranger to anybody. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Nick. Yes, I'll give a quick, I'll say conclusions or discussions that happened during the event on the city level or mobilizing actors and resources for accelerated implementation of scalable, replicable, and transformational actions in urban environments. So the meeting, I think, was a very successful one. It had many delegates participating and aspects also participating in it. The discussion was very rich, and it came up with, I think we were able to summarize a few points that might be useful as take home. The use of emerging technologies can contribute to improving living, create economic opportunities, and cut emission reductions in cities. The discussion also highlighted that the question is not the size, but the capacity, the willingness, and leadership of the cities to develop a well-designed and well-planned manner. Planning, infrastructure, energy use, energy efficiency, and mobility are the key focus areas that need attention from national and local governments. City-level actions and motivation push national governments to take higher climate actions. Through cross-city collaborations, city can collaborate, share knowledge, know-how, and experience to replicate initiatives or deploy urban services that resulted in emission reductions and enhance the livability of cities. The participants in that discussion, and also, I mean, the rich presentations that were given by the experts that were invited, we made these few bullets on key messages. The first one is that a comprehensive participation of diverse group of stakeholders, that is the private companies, house owners, citizens, research organizations, financial institutions, is a prerequisite to upscale and replicate climate actions at the city level. Certainly, behavioral change based on communications and educational activities could enhance engagement and participation of citizens in local climate actions. National and local government authorities should create an enabling environment for collaborators, private companies, and researchers to come up with innovative solutions for a sustainable urban system. Definitely policies, public policies and financial mechanisms should incentivize private sector innovation and engagement. And the good practices at the city level should also be institutionalized so that they keep moving irrespective of changes in individual office bearers. These were the key outcomes, Chair, that came from the discussions under the city level collaboration. If I move on to the next one, which was looking at support for accelerated actions. The discussion was also very rich, and it was certainly emphasized that international organizations provide a variety of support for mitigation actions in land use and key sectors in urban environments. These organizations shared experiences and best practice of how support can be successfully provided to countries that generate impactful outcomes. Governments shared positive experiences of receiving support that contributed to advancing national initiatives. Organizations collaborated with each other to develop technical materials. And here we are referring to an important one, which is the Compendium on Baselines and Monitoring, which a number of international organizations work together with the Secretariat to prepare. And this equipped countries with the necessary guidance and tools to prepare mitigation actions in the sectors that we covered. An important message that I want to deliver is that continuing the exchange of experiences and lessons learned between organizations and recipient governments can inform the avenues for accelerating support for more impactful and scale-up mitigation actions. These were the issues, Chair, that I wanted to highlight for the closing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, William. Okay, so now we go to Stella Gamma, and she's a member of the Technology Executive Committee. And the session she moderated and the sort of outcomes that she's going to present are innovative policy and technology solutions for the sustainable urban development.
Thank you very much, Moderator. We also had a productive discussions on innovative policy and technology solutions for sustainable urban development on Tuesday afternoon. This event showcased innovative approaches to urban planning, policies, and technology solutions to deliver emission reductions and generate sustainable development benefits in cities through 4 presentations. We had a presentation by the Tech Chair on TNAs, another presentation on climate innovation for cities, that was on bus rapid transit, climate friendly and energy efficient cooling and refrigeration, and also on municipalities' waste to energy conversion. We had a number of key messages summarized as follows. Technology innovations, in addition to greenhouse gas emission reductions, can deliver multiple core benefits. Factors for successful technology leapfrogging are national, regional, or municipal ownership. So ownership is important for technology leapfrogging. Willingness of stakeholders, cost efficiency, financial and technical support is also important, and that there also should be public acceptance to the technology innovations. It also transpired that local training and capacity building should accompany these innovation projects. And most importantly, political support from national governments remain a key factor and enabler. Enhanced scalability and replicability through knowledge sharing between decision makers on the urban level is also important for these technology solutions and technology innovations. And we also went ahead to have specific key messages for the Technology Executive Committee to consider. So we had 4 key messages for the tech. The tech should consider how the work of the NASCA platform can be further supported. Tech should also take these cross-cutting examples from the bus rapid transit, waste energy efficiency, to intensify its cross-sectoral work. Tech could further investigate the role of research, development, and demonstration for technology innovations. And that tech should intensify its outreach and enhance its visibility within the UNFCCC process. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So now we're going to look at the other theme that was dominant this week, which was land use. And I'm going to ask Martin Frick, who's Director of Climate and Environment Division of FAO, to sum up.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to report back from a thematic event that attracted the attention of more than 170 delegates and many observers on Monday from 11:30 to 1 p.m. We heard presentations of 6 parties: Botswana, Brazil, the European Union, Japan, Kenya, and New Zealand, and also 2 UN constituencies from the research community and the farmer community. Let me share with you the main points of the discussion and our key messages. In the discussion, it became very clear that the share of agriculture will increase with increasing population and food demand, while other sectors will decrease their own emissions. Secondly, there is no 2 degrees Celsius pathway without agriculture. Thirdly, there are huge opportunities and ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in agriculture and other land sectors while improving at the same time food security and nutrition. Mitigation actions fall under 2 broad categories. Firstly, improving resource efficiency and productivity. Secondly, increasing carbon in landscapes. Both of the 2 actions are often linked. In agriculture, mitigation is generally part of a broader sustainable development range of objectives. The drivers of change are often productivity, increase, livelihood protection, food security, with mitigation here as a co-benefit. So the key messages from these sessions are that in agriculture we need to address a combination of emissions resulting from complex biological processes. Hence, it requires a combination of measures which are context-specific. A very broad range of actions, measures, and policies can contribute to mitigation. Measures like fighting animal and plant diseases, increasing resilience, and the stability of production. Successful plans and measures are farmer-centered, gender-sensitive, engage local communities, and integrate traditional and indigenous knowledge. Lastly, the drivers for a successful implementation include policies, research, communication, training, and investments, with partnerships, including with the private sector. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Martin. So now over to Maria Jose Sanchez, who is from the Basque Center for Climate Change, and your area, madam, I think was forestry and other land use.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the event was very well attended, and there were 4 countries presenting, Colombia, Australia, Indonesia, and France, which was a very nice balance between developed and developing countries, but also constituencies from RINGO, research institutions like C4, NGOs like the Rainforest Foundation of Norway, and indigenous peoples were also presenting during the thematic event. FAO introduced the issue in a keynote speech, and let's say that the discussion summary, or the summary of the discussion that we collected can be summarized as follows. It is no doubt that land use efforts are core in achieving mitigation ambition of many countries, particularly forest mitigation options. And 100 countries directly mention mitigation role of this FOLU sector, forest and other land use sector, in their NDCs. Indicating that there is a significant potential and desire for climate action in this area. Countries, both developed and developing countries, share their domestic experiences and design and implementing mitigation actions in this sector, which is very nice to see how different challenges are seen in different countries. Countries stress the importance of institutional arrangements, means to track and show progress, broad engagement, and wide range of stakeholders, and links with broader land use and other development plans. Examples of national domestic arrangements to provide incentives for mitigation action on the sector while satisfying multiple objectives were presented by some. And not only mitigation objectives, but other objectives, among them adaptation. The presentations of developing countries shown that the significant progress on REDD+ is being achieved, but there is still challenges, not only meeting the methodological requirements, but also materializing the investments which are necessary to address the drivers. There were also examples of national domestic arrangements to provide incentives on mitigation action on the sector while satisfying multiple objectives, and they were presented by some countries as well. It was also very interesting to see the civil society reminding us that the full and effective participation of indigenous peoples at all relevant levels will be key for success of REDD implementation, but also, let me to add that forest governance and also looking on the inclusion of non-carbon benefits is also being seen as a key. Available methods and data for wetlands were presented, indicating that there is a high potential there, and there is also an improvement in methodologies that will allow for further consideration of this in mitigation actions by countries. In summary, it was an open, a very honest share of experiences, including opportunities and challenges by all the presenters, in particular by countries. So some key messages could be drawn of this discussion, and I will highlight some of those. Despite the enormous progress of REDD+, countries are still facing challenges. While support on readiness is being widely available, less attention is being paid to support the investments needed for addressing drivers of the land use change. The importance of being able to track progress and monitor the results of the mitigation efforts, consolidate institutional arrangements, and strengthen engagement of stakeholders while linking to broad land use planning and development objectives is being stressed by everyone. When designing and implementing mitigation actions in this sector, it is important to consider multiple objectives and drivers, such as adaptation, as key factors for success. Effective participation at all levels of different actors, in particular indigenous peoples, when relevant, is key for identifying the barriers and for successful implementation. And finally, but not the less important one, integrated approaches to land use that balance agriculture needs for production of food and food security and sustainable management of land, including conservation of forests and other forest activities, are key to achieve not only mitigation goals at the national level, but also other objectives that are equally important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we've got Matthew Reddy, who's with the World Business Council on Sustainable Development, and he's their Director of Forests and Climate Smart Agriculture, and he's going to talk about the private sector engagement aspect of this week.
Thank you, Nick. Our session was held yesterday, and we were quite well represented in terms of the private sector, noting that the private sector does not only include large business, it also includes the farmers themselves. And we had the World Farmers Organization, Yara Fertilizers, the largest fertilizer company in the world, Syngenta, from agricultural inputs, Olam, a trading and production organization that has its origins in Nigeria, WBCSD, and the Organic Farmers Association. And I'm pleased to say that the conclusions and the discussion summaries we had are very consistent with those that have been presented by Martin previously. We all felt that from the private sector's perspective, the potential for large-scale mitigation in agriculture is not fully tapped. So recognising that the focus has been on the energy sectors, quite rightly, but now agriculture certainly has a strong role to play, especially in mitigation and sequestration. We recognised also the difficulty in monitoring, reporting and verification of greenhouse gas emissions from the sector, noting that they are quite geographically dispersed and disparate. We felt that the pressure for land and water could be quite dramatically alleviated through the closing of yield gaps and increasing productivity. That was one area that we felt, and there were some excellent examples put forward, where we already have the technologies, where we already have the opportunities to be able to achieve increases in productivity that would then reduce the pressures on natural forests and other ecosystems such as wetlands. We recognised also that there are already scalable partnerships, and that we should be considering how we can actually work more closely with the public sector and NGOs, especially in the areas of soil health and nutrient management. And there's a strong appetite for constructive mechanisms to better facilitate partnerships. We recognise that partnerships between the public and private sector are fairly recent at the scale of which we're talking, and therefore there's learnings on both sides that need to occur. Some of the key outcomes, I guess, then are this came through with the previous discussions around development and its links to agriculture, that the SDGs and the NDCs, the linkage there needs to be fully exploited to get the best out of these public and private partnerships. Innovation and technology. This was certainly something that the group felt needed to be further deployed, especially in terms of closing those yield gaps and doing more with less, so being more efficient. And then collaboration around knowledge sharing to raise that productivity and the need for increases in productivity, especially in key commodities such as rice and palm oil, but to do so with sustainable intensification. And then prioritise some research and R&D. And it was noted that New Zealand had made significant investments and achievements in that area, especially with the Global Research Alliance and their work on a bio-based research group. And then there was a social dimension, to bring the youth back to the farms and to make agriculture an enticing and exciting area for future generations in which to work. And we felt that the role of the agri entrepreneur could be something that a partnership would focus on.
Thank you very much indeed. So finally in this section, we have Federico Villatico Campbell, who's manager of the Climate Technology Centre and Network. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. As a CDCN, we're very happy to be here. Also, take advantage of this opportunity to thank again the Secretary to invite us to facilitate this TEM session. Also, this is also in our duties as a body to the convention to contribute to the TEM activities. This session was about building partnerships to accelerate implementation, and the panel was really of high level. In fact, it was composed of main donors, being the Green Climate Fund and the GEF, the Green Environmental Facility of the World Bank, and also the GIZ, the Development Agency of Germany, and complemented by the International Renewable Energy Agency, together also with a representative from the private sector, Foster & Partners, worldwide well-recognized architectural firm. So the discussion was how to build effective partnerships to reach the end users. And in terms of the main discussion summary, we had the TEM was seen as a good opportunity for people coming from the public sector, in particular from the government, to meet with people from the field, non-state actors, both public and private entities, and so to discuss about opportunities and how to merge in order to implement in light of the 2020 deadline from the Paris Committee, actually. Then also stressed the fact that technical assistance needs to be streamlined in order to achieve eventually financial support and then being effective, including especially the GCF and the GEF Also after the Marrakesh COP, this was within also the mandate of the CTCN as well to cooperate with these two financial mechanism bodies to make the most out of technical assistances. And there was also the necessity of integrating all of these international organizations and funding bodies together to serve the purpose of the convention. And then cities, which was the main theme of the older TEM week, they were recognized as being a great opportunity for green investment because they are an incredible collector of all climate technologies, from energy in buildings, in the built environment, up to transportation, up to land use. So they're kind of concentrated box where all climate technologies are together. So an integrated policy and policy framework in order to host and to target all of those would be needed. In terms of the final key messages and output that we have been taking from the discussion, mainly it was the concept of the integration was the trait d'union, if you want, of the main discussion, and this would be, in particular, in terms of merging non-state actors to engage with the private sector, which is eventually one of probably the weak link of the climate mechanism, and that needs to be strengthened in order to activate a market ability for climate technologies to achieve the convention goals. Again, integration among all players, the proponents of technical assistance requests, facilitators like CTCN, for example, financiers, public bodies, and again, the private sector is the key to accelerate the overall climate mechanism. And through, of course, capitalization of all bilateral, regional, and multilateral resources. Finally, in developing countries, into this process, they are key actors. In fact, they now own the NDCs, and they have a national plan. So we need to ultimately target financial, technical, and capacity building, these three main streams that has to be focused, while as far as implementation is concerned, in order again to achieve the climate purposes, to serve the convention goals, and while achieving and serving the NDCs. Thanks a lot for having us again.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. Now I'm going to take some concluding remarks from the SBI and the SBSTA chairs. And, well, you're both here now, so I'll take it in the order I have it written down here. So we'll first go to Tomasz Chruszczow, who's the SBI chair. Tomasz.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I would like to begin with my gratitude to the moderators of each thematic event and the speakers who shared their valuable experience and innovative approaches. I would also like to thank the partner organizations. You are very active in issues related to cities and land use sectors and supporting the organization of the events. And more importantly, I have to express my gratitude to the participants, both parties and non-party stakeholders, for their active engagement and cooperation. I'm pleased to see that 7 thematic events under the topics of cross-cutting issues of urban environments and land use have successfully facilitated exchange of experiences on implementing effective planning, policy frameworks, and financing instruments in support of low-emission development. And also that they have fostered interactive discussion on partnerships that deliver technical and financial support for accelerated implementation of actions in urban environment. This year's TEMs has been successful because it has been well attended by both parties and non-party stakeholders, equally represented in panels and in the room. Each thematic event drew substantial audiences, more than 100 attendees per event, to hear the best practices and perspectives that experts presented, and discussions were thoughtful and engaging. Such enhanced engagement and interactive discussion has led to meaningful dialogue on climate action. I expect the insights shared throughout the meeting will serve as a firm foundation in identifying actionable, high-potential mitigation policies, practices, technologies, and also will facilitate their accelerated implementation. To that end, I look forward to continuing this work as we look ahead to the regional TEM dialogues scheduled to take place at the Carbon Forums this year. So thank you very much again, and well, see you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Tomasz. Now over to Carlos Fuller, the SBSTA chair. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to compliment Tomasz, and by also thanking you and the moderators for their excellent work in facilitating the TEMs and keeping the discussions very interactive and engaging. I would also like to thank the delegates and international organizations for their active participation in this important process. I would also like to acknowledge the contributions of several organizations that contributed to the organization of this week's thematic events, including the TEC, CTCN, FAO, and WBCSD. This year, we strive to improve access and participation in the TEP for developing country parties and non-party experts, and hope that this was evident in the design of our panels and outreach to non-party stakeholders. As you are aware, the technical expert meetings are not a one-off event, but rather a multi-stakeholder process to implement action, strengthen initiatives, and deliver measurable results by the end of the year in the form of new and stronger national and international initiatives, greater participation in innovative partnerships, and mobilization of the resources needed to make action happen. We are encouraged to hear that as a result of the engagement in the TEMs process, parties might be in a position to launch new and ambitious policies and actions with potential to contribute toward pre-2020 ambition. I'd like to remind you of the follow-up work planned by the Secretariat in accordance with the requirements of Decision 1 CP21. That is, preparations of a technical paper and the summary for policymakers, dissemination of information through the Climate Action website, and organization of the high-level event during the COP. Finally, I would like to thank all participants for their active engagement. We look forward to continue to strengthen the TEMs and improve its effectiveness as we look to the assessment of a technical examination process at COP23. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. And it reminds us actually of how many extraordinary initiatives were launched in the run-up to Paris and during Paris and after Paris. And I think at some moment it'd be great to find out, exactly how those are doing, strengthened by processes like the TEMs, because they were quite remarkable in terms of number and ambition and scale. Perhaps we will find in Bonn whether some of those initiatives come forward with an update on how they're doing. So now we're going to go to three sort of keynote presentations before we throw it out to the audience. And very delighted to have Matthew Reddy back again with us with the World Business Council on Sustainable Development. Matthew was CEO of the International River Foundation in Australia, I believe, is in Australia, yes. And he worked in many leadership and governance roles with many NGOs, tackling sensitive issues on hydropower and mining and forestry and oil and gas issues. He has a background in business, as mentioned. And in fact, I won't read the whole bio out, but sort of cut his teeth on the forestry sector during his time managing private investment with Landcare, Australia's largest environmental organization. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Nick, and thanks to the Chair for the opportunity to address the group this afternoon. So I work for WBCSD, which is the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. The World Business Council has a range of initiatives. We are a membership-based organisation, some 200 private sector companies. Many of those, of course, are well known to you. And one of the initiatives, one of the many initiatives, Nick, that you alluded to before in the lead up to Paris was our Low Carbon Technology Partnerships Initiative, the LCTPI event, which was a program that tried to demonstrate what the private sector contribution could be to climate change mitigation, and we presented that at COP21. The success of that program has now led to the development of those programs. We cover all sectors, but the most successful of those programs is in fact in the agriculture space. So our agriculture program, Climate Smart Agriculture, didn't exist prior to, in the immediate run up to COP21, but is now the largest and fastest growing area of interest and development within the WBCSD. So the private sector is really pushing very hard on sustainability, resilience in the agricultural sector. That's a key message that I'd like to convey. The membership base of WBCSD cuts across all value chains. So we have the producers right the way through to those organisations that are the major retailers like Walmart, for example. And they're most interested in security of supply. They're interested in making sure that their purchasing decisions don't contribute to deforestation, and that they have some resilience in their supply chains and can affect some of the SDGs through that process. But without sustainable intensification, more food will mean more emissions. So that's the goal of the Climate Smart Agriculture Group, is to actually do more with less. And we have the ambition of making 50% more food available. So when I say making 50% more food available, that doesn't mean producing 50% more food. It actually means freeing up those lost resources that come from food loss and waste, and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from eliminating deforestation in supply chains, and again taking into account the food loss and waste greenhouse gas footprint, which is quite substantial. So what can the private sector bring? What is it that we can bring to the table to advance mitigation and adaptation in climate change? Well, I think SDG 17 is an excellent framing for the private sector. And when we drill into those targets for SDG 17, we find that they are finance. Obviously, that's an area where the public sector can have a strong influence, not just in terms of providing capital, but the mechanisms and the innovation and the transactions that need to occur in finance and in insurance in order to help climate change mitigation. Technology, data and monitoring. This was spoken about in numerous slides, the role of technology, the rapid adoption of technology, and providing technology to those people that are most in need. Capacity building, the private sector spends millions on training and development. Last year we did a study of the top 40 agricultural producers globally, and we looked at the effectiveness of their training, and we found that what we found is I'll use a rough figure, and I won't point out any one particular company, but in any given geography there may well be 100,000 farmers that are trained in certain agricultural practices. Of that 100,000, you'll probably get around 10,000 that will take up those practices, and of that 10,000, probably 1,000 will continue with them. So we're spending millions and millions of dollars on hitting 1%. with effective training and implementation. And we really feel this is something that we can scale up and do a lot better. And that's an area where we've identified that we want to work in partnership with the public sector. Trade is another key area where the private sector can play a key role. And in multi-stakeholder partnerships, the WBCSD recognises that the best results come from effective multi-stakeholder partnerships. But we need the right enabling environment to invest. This is a key point of what I want to say this afternoon, is there are targets for mitigation and adaptation in the INDCs. I think somewhere around approaching above 80% of INDCs include some form of mitigation from agriculture and land use, and some, I think more than 60% include adaptation. But what we can't have from a private sector perspective is one approach for monitoring and one approach for investment and one approach for crediting in Brazil, another approach in South Africa, another approach in North America. We need consistency and we need fungibility in the way that we invest in mitigation, and that's a key point. And it's more key when we look at where resources are shared in that transnational boundary context. So if we were to look at the Mekong River Basin, for example, the Borneo peatlands and forests, the biodiversity of the Okavango Delta, we need that transnational collaboration in order to facilitate private sector investment. We can't have fragmented approaches to investment in climate change. But another point we'd like to make around agriculture is, yes, we recognise that the private sector recognises that it's a considerable source of greenhouse gas emissions. Rice alone contributes the same amount of greenhouse gas emissions as global aviation. So in terms of multi-stakeholder partnership, we now have over 30 organisations working on greenhouse gas mitigation in rice landscapes in the ASEAN region. So there's an example of what the private sector can do in terms of collaboration and scale, working across at least 6 of the major rice producing landscapes. And that initiative will probably be, and we'll wait and see, the largest single contribution to agricultural greenhouse gas emissions reductions anywhere in the world. So the second point that we'd like to make is not just on sequestration and mitigation, but we would also like to raise the fact that the agricultural sector and the forestry sector provides the raw materials for a low carbon economy, and the sustainable use of agricultural production and woody biomass must be considered more broadly for its role in transitioning from a fossil fuel based economy to one based on biomaterials, sustainably produced biomaterials. And the private sector, again, is key to partnerships in order to scale up our move towards a bio-based, low emissions and renewable economy. So I'll conclude by saying we'd like to engage further with the public sector. We're looking forward to our event and working with the minister here from Minister Inya from Fiji, and running our events this year at COP23 here in Bonn. And we'd like to invite you to join our sessions and take this discussion further with the private sector and WBCSD.
Thank you, Martin. That was very interesting, and the rice story that we were talking about earlier. I mean, that's fascinating too. So it's also with great pleasure that we have Minister Inyu Saratu. I'm sure I pronounced that completely wrong. And Minister, I know you're a bit of a rugby fan, so I'm a bit nervous about this, that I pronounced his name wrong. But I'll try better next time. And he's not only the Fijian Minister for Agriculture, he's also the Minister for Rural and Maritime Development and for National Disaster Management since 2014, so quite a portfolio. He is also one of our Global Climate Action high-level champions, and therefore will be having a major role in COP23 and in the run-up to COP23 later in the year. So over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Nick. I do acknowledge the two chairs of the SBI and SBSTA, the moderators of the various thematic areas, Mr. Reddy of WBCSD, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. As the high-level champion appointed by the President-designate for COP23 from Fiji, I had the honor to address you at the opening session of the technical expert meetings on mitigation, and now have the pleasure to address you again at this closing session. After hearing the reports from the sessions, I am very encouraged to hear about the outcomes of your deliberations. Both parties and non-party stakeholders have taken full advantage of this platform to exchange ideas, shine a light on success stories, and highlight the policy options and collaboration opportunities to scale up action. More specifically, I would like to share three main reflections. First, I am happy to see the wide range of stakeholders, including national policy makers from ministries of agriculture, the environment, energy, forestry, and transport, actively engaging with the members of the private sector, local government, representatives, and civil society. It is this type of diverse multi-stakeholder interactions that can accelerate the deployment of sustainable and impactful solutions. Second, I was impressed with the various case studies and examples of real action on the ground, from agroforestry projects in Kenya, bus rapid transit systems in Colombia, to smart homes in Singapore. This has demonstrated to me that there is a wealth of knowledge, technology, and expertise that already exists, and it is now imperative that this capacity gets deployed to the regions and countries that need it most. Lastly, it was clear that the implementation of mitigation projects cannot be successful without considering the adaptation and sustainable development benefits related to health, poverty reduction, food security, biodiversity, increased resilience, and improved livelihoods. A holistic approach focusing on multiple benefits is needed to ensure the local communities truly benefit. These technical expert meetings should not be viewed as one isolated event, but as one crucial element in the larger process to accelerate pace and scale of climate action. They have provided an excellent opportunity to have deeper discussions on specific issues related to urban environments and land use. I will now work closely with my colleague from Morocco, the high-level champion Hakima Haite, to ensure the outcomes of these meetings are fed into the broader work program and thematic areas of the Marrakesh Partnership for Global Climate Action. In parallel, we have also had consultations with the parties, constituted bodies, and observers on our proposed approach, and will continue to do so until the end of the sessions to shape this approach. And all of these activities should be viewed as one package working towards the same collective goals. The best practices, policy options, and urgent needs of parties will be taken forward by the Marrakesh Partnership in our outreach and engagements with a wider community of leaders and decision makers from the public and private sector, coalitions, and initiatives to follow up on the specific issues and facilitate the delivery of solutions through cross-sectoral and multi-stakeholder cooperation. We will use the knowledge gained here to strengthen existing initiatives and promote the development of new initiatives to address key gaps and mobilize actors towards credible, ambitious action. The information gathered at these TEMs and followed up on the regional events and activities of the Marrakesh Partnership will be synthesized in the summary for policymakers, providing clear policy priorities and options to catalyze high-impact action, overcome barriers, and broaden participation for party consideration. This summary for policymakers will also be a key input for high-level dialogues at COP23 with ministers across the spectrum of national planning, CEOs, mayors, governors, and civil societies to explore opportunities to further strengthen collaboration. The aims of the Paris Agreement and Sustainable Development Goals call for long-term transformational change, and this can only occur by taking urgent pre-2020 action. This will require the collective engagement and expertise of all actors. This partnership provides the opportunity for the broad participation of these actors who are committed to do their part and cooperate with others to implement and deliver action in line with these aims. I encourage all stakeholders to lead by example by working collaboratively with all levels of government and across all social and economic sectors to develop partnerships, share and highlight the concrete progress made, and bring forward the innovative solutions and policy options that can accelerate the pace of implementation. I would like to thank you all for your hard work and sharing your experiences this week. As a high-level champion, I would like to once again assure you that I will work as hard to facilitate the follow-up on these outcomes, and I look forward to your continued support. And it is only by working together and learning from each other will we be able to turn the aims of the Paris Agreement into reality. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. We've got one last presentation or keynote presentation, and that was meant to be delivered by my boss, Patricia Espinosa, the Executive Secretary of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. She can't be with us because you may be aware we're very proud and very privileged to have with us in Bonn, here at the United Nations in Bonn, Amina J. Mohammed, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. I think she was in Vienna yesterday talking about energy. She's here in Bonn, and there is, as we speak, a town hall meeting going on over there. And I know they run out of chairs because she is so popular. But tomorrow at 9 o'clock, basically because she's here in Bonn, she's agreed very kindly to make a presentation at a sort of special event which will take place at the WCCB at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and the details will be up on the screens if they're not already up. So it falls to me I've been asked by my executive secretary to read her remarks. It's a bit of a new experience for me. I don't normally read things, I would just speak, but so bear with me, please. Thank you very much to the chair of the SBSTA and the chair of the SBI for inviting Patricia Espinosa to speak, and I doing this on her behalf here at the end of the technical experts meeting. We know the mandate for these technical expert meetings come from the recognition that pre-2020 action is absolutely crucial for meeting the climate change challenge, and every nation must have access to the knowledge, the ideas and innovations that make this urgent action possible. Now that the Paris Agreement has entered into force, and as you all know, 145 countries now have ratified the agreement, a cooperative approach and capacity for action in the near future is more important than ever. Pre-2020 climate action is now in sharp focus and determines our ability to deliver on the promise of Paris. Experts meetings play an important role in identifying new opportunities for enhanced climate action and collaboration, and these meetings provide a platform to identify high potential mitigation policies, practices, and technologies, and facilitate implementation through strong partnerships. Friends, high potential mitigation comes from transforming urban growth and land use, to name but a few. You've certainly heard how cities produce 75% of both global GDP and emissions, a trend that will accelerate and put pressure on energy, housing, mobility, security, and employment, the necessary components for robust economic growth. City planners and policymakers can address these long-term challenges through action now action which also improves the lives and the livelihoods of people in cities. And at this technical expert meeting, I understand you saw more cities moving this direction. Singapore with their Smart Nation program, Bogota with their innovative transit-orientated development ideas, the city of Zorzal in Belgium, and they presented how north-south and cross-city partnerships with other countries in, like, for example, in Benin, can advance adaptation and mitigation. Our very own city of Bonn, where we are, has demonstrated how the private sector can actively engage in the renewable energy push. And from our work with the city of Bonn, I can tell you that this is just one of the ways they're taking action. And we also heard about innovative policy and technology solutions, including climate-friendly cooling. Together, these initiatives help bend the emissions curve and promote the well-being of people. I welcome the sharing of experiences as a way to inspire and encourage more cities to take similar action. Of course, urbanization was not the only topic of this meeting. The land in rural areas must also be sustainably managed, and land use must point squarely at low emission and resilient development. New approaches to agriculture, forestry, and resource management can ensure the needs of people are met and that the planet is protected as the population grows from 7 to 9 billion people or more. Land use accounts for nearly 25% of global greenhouse gas emissions, covers crucial areas such as food production and water management, and for some countries forms the foundation of the economy. Agriculture and forestry are also the basis of the livelihoods of the planet's poorest and most vulnerable. Transformation of land use can make a positive impact in poverty alleviation, food security, energy access, protection of traditional lifestyles, and sustainable management of the resources that underpin economic growth. This opens the door for high potential mitigation. Because of the synergies at the intersection of these critical areas, mainstreaming climate change in the land use offers unprecedented opportunity for integrated action. Cooperation is the key that unlocks this potential. So I was particularly glad to hear about several of the ambitious initiatives presented at this meeting. Indonesia, Australia, France, and Colombia presenting their experiences with REDD+ actions to safeguard tropical forests and discuss forest management's role in the increasing uptake of carbon. Innovative practices in livestock and soil management were shared by Brazil, New Zealand, Japan, and the EU. We also heard valuable perspectives from environmental research, farmer, and indigenous peoples' constituencies, while also several examples of the private sector mobilization for sustainable land use. The TEMs focus on climate action happening right now, and that's the focus. We've heard from many governments, we've heard from stakeholders and practitioners with real-world, real economy examples in cities and the land sector. The Global Environment Facility, the Green Climate Fund, and others outlined their technical and financial support for accelerated actions. Transformation is not just possible, it's underway. This is what the TEMs are about. The action presented here is extremely encouraging, but it's not enough. We must turn all commitments into action. We must transform reality on the ground. This will only happen if we take what has been shared and learned here and in all the technical experts' meetings and put it into practice to fulfill the high potential demonstrated today and this week. This is our mandate in this new era of implementation. The Secretariat remains committed to further this conversation in the crucial pre-2020 period. We're holding TEMs events at the major carbon forums to enable regional and local action, and we're supporting the work of the high-level climate champions. And we will work to bring the outcomes and experience of these meetings to the global network of actors being mobilized by the Marrakesh Partnership for Global Climate Action, and who can take forward the recommendations and deliver solutions. Looking ahead, parties have a mandate to assess the effectiveness of the technical examination process. And I invite you to come prepared with your ideas here so we can strengthen this collaborative work and ensure that the TEMs remain as an effective resource for building our low emission and resilient future. Collaboration between governments looking to increase ambition and experts with real world experience about how to do this is incredibly important. Finally, these meetings put us on the path to the vision outlined in Paris. The actions showcased here enable and accelerate action under the Paris Agreement. But we must work quickly now to move the world closer to development that is climate safe and sustainable, marked by peace and prosperity, with opportunity for all. Thank you. And those are the remarks of Patricia Espinosa. Now it's your turn. So you are our audience. You are our delegates. You've been here for several days. You burnt the midnight oil or whatever one burns these days. I don't think we burn midnight oil anymore. It's probably not environmentally friendly. So, so we want to turn the floor over to you with some interventions, not least to know, in a sense, are these technical expert meetings working? Do they add value? Could we do it differently? Do you want singing? Do you want jugglers? What would make this more dynamic, more exciting, and more wonderful for you? And in the end, fulfill what we're really here for, which is to inspire greater climate action and ambition. I could see New Zealand was slightly twitching with her plaque, so let's go over to New Zealand. Thank you.
From New Zealand, thank you. A thank you to the moderator, chair, our climate champion, and all the speakers and panelists. From our perspective, the range of presentations has been extremely interesting and useful. New Zealand is committed to our pre-2020 action, and the information exchange that has taken place throughout these sessions will assist and feed into that action. Also, as we spoke to earlier, we really do appreciate the inclusion of agriculture in these sessions and the discussions surrounding research and development. I think the size of the TEM sessions, such as those on agriculture, really is a reflection of how valued they are. So New Zealand looks forward to the mitigation TEMs in the future. Thank you.
And I remember some years ago when it was UN World Environment Day in the world, and New Zealand was the host, and Helen Clark was the Prime Minister, that we all went from UNEP in those days to your country and saw firsthand the amazing work, certainly at that time anyway, and I'm sure it's going on, with ways of reducing emissions from livestock. And we were all very excited when we saw the livestock and what was happening. Yeah. Anybody else? Ah, yes, a lady here.
Good afternoon, Excellency and colleagues. First of all, we would like to express our gratitude and appreciation to the Secretariat for preparation and carrying out these TEMs and the Climate Action Fair, which has been showcasing examples of initiatives and actions in the relevant fields in conjunction with the technical expert meeting. Apart from that, we have heard many success stories outlined in these sessions this week, and through also collaborative action and through the action agenda knowledge can be shared, and opportunities for accelerating climate action can be harvested. In this regards, the connection to the Global Climate Action Agenda and the initiatives who implement climate action, as well as the connection to the champions, are important. And we are also grateful for Your Excellency's participation in this session. We also want to underline the importance of inclusive TEMs involving broad areas of actors, convention bodies and mechanisms. At the same time, the topic of the TEMs should continue to be focused. We also think that the champions should work closely with the Secretariat in the choice of topics for the TEMs, as well as the engagement of relevant sectorial focal points, stakeholders in the organization of the TEMs. To be more concrete, we think that the TEMs should be organized in the consultation and possibly in connection with relevant expert organization to maximize impact and value added. In this regard, we also encourage the Secretariat to make agendas and information available several months before in advance. I thank you.
Thank you. And that was the European Union. Thank you very much indeed. I mean, one thing that I remember having the pleasure of opening the plenary at the beginning of the week, and one of the things that I remember being asked to say, actually, because I'm normally told what to say, was also, were there examples this week of things that have gone terribly wrong in these areas that we all could have learned from? Because I always think that's almost as valuable as the things that go right. And if that was so, that would be a good thing. It would almost be wonderful to have an annex at the end of these reports, so we recall those things that didn't go so well. Who else have we got? Okay, anybody else want to raise their flags? Yes, thank you very much indeed. Indonesia.
Thank you, Moderator. First of all, we would like to appreciate the Secretariat for organizing the TEM for mitigation. This platform provides us to learn from each other, from parties, non-parties, and to hear the views from scientists, also indigenous people, NGOs, how we progress after Paris Agreement. And the second thing coming from the country with almost 70% of our country land forest, we were really happy to be invited to speak on the RAD Plus. As we know that there is no formal agenda in negotiation. We know how important is the role of forest, and a number of countries, including Indonesia, putting RAD Plus as important part of our NDC. So this platform provide us to talk, to continuously talking about how we progress and what the challenges faced by RAD countries. So thank you once again. Thank you, Moderator, and also thank you to Moderator for the session, Maria, and also the FAO for organizing this. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Do we feel that the information that was presented over the last few days was absolutely bang up to date, that we were having debates about, the cutting edge of this, because we know so much is going on, right? I mean, my team in communications here at the UNFCCC spend 4 to 5 hours a day just loading up all the announcements that are going on around the world on our front-facing website in 3 languages. I mean, literally it's 4 or 5 hours a day. There's so much happening. And I saw Colombia mentioned with their rapid bus transit system, which is great, but there's lots of other rapid bus transit systems now around the world as well. So we're trying to get a bit of feedback really from you, rather than, I mean, it's great to know that it was a super few days, but are there things we could do that would be a little bit different? Are there kinds of people we could bring in that would change the dynamic? Leonardo da Cappuccino, for example. CTCN, okay.
Right. But the cappuccino will be okay, in case. And, well, I would say in terms of what you were just mentioning now, in terms of invitation of new faces to this process, I would say that if we can succeed in engaging more broadly, inviting more representatives from private sector, I think that would be ideal, because they are really the market. So I think that would be something I would really wish to see more.
I mean, at the UN Framework Convention, we have an initiative called Momentum for Change, which we award innovative projects at the COP every year through a very careful screening process. And one of those areas is ICT, Information and Communications Technologies. And of course, that has a huge role to play in certainly the urban space, and also to an increasing extent in smart agriculture. I mean, I don't know how much those kinds of sectors came into the debate, but anybody else want to make some remarks? I see Nigeria, I see the United Kingdom, I see Sweden, I see Norway. Oh God, I know you're all doing great things. Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and all the coordinators. It is very clear that most of all the deliberations will have to be centered on national actions. And when we talk about national action, we find out that it is not only about financing. Sometimes, especially among the developing countries, we may not understand exactly what to do, apart from the issue of finances. Therefore, I would suggest Nigeria will want to suggest that SBSTA and SBI should be able to organize capacity building more than ever before, grassroots capacity building, and then try to reach out in trying to put together some of these actions, the climate actions that are necessary. For instance, the CTCN, where carbon capture and storage and also utilization is being demonstrated. It should be work harder to make sure that we get to the grassroots where these things can actually take place and to build capacity for enhanced action. Thank you.
So good point. I mean, of course, the Framework Convention and the various bodies here are only a part of the story, aren't they? You have the UNEPs of this world, the World Banks, the UNDPs. You've got a whole UN system out there that you know, can operate in Africa. And then you've got countries themselves. Carbon capture and storage, I see Norway there. I mean, they've got some really good experience on that, which I think they could also bring to the table for the countries like yourself. Sweden's got the flag up. Great, thank you.
Thank you. And also I would like to echo the very great thanks to the Secretariat and also Your Excellency Champion for being here. We very much think that TEMs is an opportunity to exchange of good practices and best practices. And in this regard, we think that the TEMs has a specific, could have a specific focus in connection to the INCs in the future coming years. And we also think that was highlighted also in the presentations here, a little bit like how you could pick up on, for instance, on the tech, you can pick up on the connection to the NASCA portal and how to follow up on initiatives. That could be like one thing that you could contribute to doing in the future, and also the fact that, as my EU colleague also expressed, the connection to the Global Action Agenda and its initiatives. We heard throughout the week several examples of very good and scalable initiatives, and this is very encouraging to see that they are making progress on the ground, and also to be able to kind of transform these success stories into information to policymakers to go back to the national capitals and to inform on best practices. So a very much like closer connection a little bit to how you organize attempts in the future could be like, as my EU colleague expressed, a little bit the connection between when picking up topics, that you pick up topics that have great value or great potential for high mitigation potential and very relevant to key sectors in the NDCs, and also speaks very much to a broad constituencies of parties, mitigation opportunities. And yes, so to conclude, I'm very much supportive of the TEMs, but also think that choosing future topics that they could be chosen as being very specific, but also highlighting their connection to the Action Agenda initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, just getting back to Nigeria, there was something that was irritating me at the back of my mind, but you are a member of the Climate and Clean Air Coalition, where UNEP is the secretariat, and they're definitely working with oil-producing countries, maybe not on carbon capture and storage, but they're certainly working on the flaring, the black carbon, and fugitive emissions from methane. And you've been a member since 2012, because I knew you were. So I think that's probably a very good place to also start in terms of which part of your government is actually working with that particular entity of the UN system.
Yes, sorry, the Nigerian government is neck deep in trying to eliminate flares, but I'm speaking generally for developing countries, because when you look at you hear discussions across the spectrum, you find out that it's not as if there is no willpower for these things to be done, but sometimes they know how. Exactly identification of what projects, climate actions to take are lacking. And that's why I'm asking, or Nigeria is asking for grassroots capacity building. It's not all about finances. I know finances will be there, but we have to start with national action with international communities support, even in the NDC. Nigeria has a robust plan to remove all the flares in our oil and gas system, and that is ongoing. A lot of work has been done with the international communities, but we have to carry our neighbors, our sister developing countries along.
So good point. So maybe this all fits into the idea of maybe ideas coming in advance from parties to the Secretariat in terms of maybe the next TEMs, areas that you would like to see expanded in terms of discussion or something like that. That might well be part of it. Okay, who else do we have? Is there a flag somewhere? Yes, the gentleman there. I couldn't see which country, sorry.
Well, no country, but we are with the International Forestry Student Association, and we would like to refer to the point Nigeria just raised with the grassroots level. And on behalf of the youth, it would be really interesting to have more youth participation in this process, especially from youth from the Global South. Thank you.
Thank you. So everybody, I got the opening plenary. Everyone was very quiet in the opening plenary. Then I understand after that, when you had your individual sessions, that you were all very chatty and it was all very exciting. And then I come to the closing plenary and everyone's a bit quiet again. Maybe it's my fault. I don't know. Claudio, you should never ask me to do this. I've obviously had a bad impact on the whole room. Okay. We can take a few final points if that's the case. If not, then we can end there. I'm sure also any thoughts and ideas you have on how this could be even better than it's been can be sent by email to the Secretariat. You have the Secretariat there. I'm sure you know most of the people. But thank you for being part of this week of events. Thank you for exchanging ideas, presenting ideas of high climate mitigation potential in these two very broad sectors. And we look forward to you being in regional carbon markets and fora where this can be expanded at the regional and hopefully more at the national level. We take the point of Nigeria that we need more grassroots action. We take the point of the youth as well, that youth from the Global South would also be able to offer us inspiring advice. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the May sessions. I hope you can be there tomorrow morning to welcome our Deputy Secretary General, Amina J. Mohammed from Nigeria. And we all have a great outcome next Thursday. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye.